Welcome back, everyone. Michael here with Offshore Citizen. Today we're going to answer the question of what is adjusted cost basis and how might it apply to you. Before we get started, please subscribe if you haven't already. It's going to bring you great luck. That's why it's red. It's lucky. And click the notification bell. All right, dive into this right now. Okay, so a deemed disposition is essentially behaving as though something was sold even though it was not sold, okay? So the most common place that we talk about it in terms of international structuring is when we're talking about people leaving the country, so an exit tax, all right? So for instance, you own a strip mall, right? The strip mall has increased in value by $1 million. You leave the country, you're gonna I'm not gonna say typically, often, when you do, they're gonna tax you on the amount that is grown, right? So say you bought it for $2 million, it's gone up to $3 million, you pay tax on the $1 million as though you sold it. So basically it's simulating the sale of something without actually selling it, right? Now this has a negative consequence, of course, because it may require that you have to come up with a lot of cash in order to pay that tax, and the cash may be trapped in the asset, right? So sometimes it makes sense just to sell the asset straight away, right? Because you're gonna have to pay the tax anyway, might as well. Other times, maybe it's a good asset. Maybe you're in a situation where you say, okay, great, I'd like to hold on to it. Okay, it's going to depend case by case, right? But either way could be the situation. Another situation where this can come in is sometimes, again, depending on the country, depending on the situation, etc., you may be in a case where when you put assets into a particular type of trust, there's a deemed disposition, okay? Essentially, the asset is being sold to a new owner, and so you're adjusting accordingly, right? Another situation that this may happen, this is why Canadian trusts are absolutely horrible, is they have a deemed disposition of assets every, I think it's like 22 years. I'd have to check. It's somewhere between 20 and 25 years. Basically, all the assets, there's a deemed disposition. Absolutely horrible from a tax planning standpoint. Basically, you should pretty much never, ever set up a Canadian trust. I cannot think of a single situation where I would want to recommend a Canadian trust to somebody. Maybe if you're, I don't know, going to have it for a very short time and there's very specific purposes. I guess if it's short term and you have specific purposes, it would be worthwhile. But normally I would pretty much always say use a foreign trust, although there are more complicated reporting requirements, so maybe not. Hard to say. Anyway, so these are some examples of where a deemed disposition may come into play, okay? And what usually happens is usually then when you have the deemed disposition, the adjusted cost basis of the asset goes up. And this you won't pay the tax twice is pretty much the bottom line. So the price goes up, or it could go down actually, because maybe the asset, maybe you bought it for $2 million and dropped to $1 million, right? So, but it's gonna change to whatever that deemed disposition level was. And at that point in time, in the future when it's sold, it's gonna be sold, there's gonna be the differential is gonna be paid based on the adjusted cost basis that it changed, as opposed to the current one. I'll do another video on adjusted cost basis so you guys can understand that. Anyway, that's pretty much the principle. It's relevant to you, like I said, when you're putting assets in trust. Sometimes, in certain cases, if you're gifting certain assets, there may be some piece around it. When you have an exit tax, that may be a situation. There's probably a few others that they're slipping my mind at the moment, but it's something to be aware of and to understand just kind of what that terminology means and be able to apply it accordingly. So if you like the video, please click the like button, click the subscribe button, click the notification bell. Helps us a lot. If you have questions or something you'd like answered, some sort of topic you'd like us to make a video about, please put it in the comments below. Love to hear from you. If you would like some specific advice, go to clarity.fm/Michael Rosmer. There's a link below in the little description box there. You can go to offshorecitizen.net, offshorecapitalist.com. Anything, citizenships, residencies, company formations, bank accounts, payment processing, all these types of international things, tax structuring, and optimization, asset protection. Anyway, hopefully that's helpful, and we will see you guys on the next video.